So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Jibril and Mr. Stan Connally with Gulf Power.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jibril Sulaiman. I'm one of the board members for the Gulf Coast African American Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome Mr. Stan Connally, the CEO of Gulf Power. Okay. And Jeff, we want to go ahead and get started. I have one serious question, Mr. Connally.
You're going to start with a serious question.
Yes, I am. Where does the power in the Gulf come from? I want to know. That's one of those questions. You know, it's jokingly. Where's the internet? I do want to address here. We had a big announcement, and I saw you there as well. The mayor, county commissioners, everyone came out. Deepflex, it's a new manufacturing company that's coming out to the Port of Pensacola. Can you explain to everyone how Gulf Power played a role in bringing Deepflex here? Maybe for anyone that may not know who Deepflex is, if you want to explain who they are also.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say I appreciate the opportunity to come spend some time with you. We appreciate the opportunity to invest in you. And I see people around the room that I've been getting to know for the first couple of years of my time here. And to hear of the mission of where the Gulf Coast African American Chamber wanted to go, it was very easy for us to make the decision to get engaged with you and to ask one of our teammates to be on your board. And we're not just here tonight to talk. We're not just here tonight to talk about things we do. We want to be invested with you over the long term. And Charter Scott is our board member.
Yeah.
I know she's going to be a great team member for you, and will keep us plugged in any way we can. And really, economic development works in much the same way. It takes teamwork. And last Friday was one of those days when the teamwork paid off. Gulf Power, for so long, not just since I've been here, has been very interested in working with our communities and partners like the chambers in our area and in other entities that are interested in bringing jobs to our community and finding ways for us to be more competitive as a community. And last Friday, I think, demonstrates one of those competitiveness conversations that I think is worth telling. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about Deepflex. Deepflex is a company that's based here in the United States, but they've got worldwide operations. They make underwater pipe. And they are going to produce a version of that pipe right here at our port. They've got a partnership with a company called Offshore Inland, and together they're going to create about 200 jobs based out of the Port of Pensacola. And they're good paying jobs. And I think that's an important part of this conversation. Right. Because one of the things we want to work on as we work on economic development is bringing jobs and associated wages that raise the tide, no pun intended since it's at the port, for the whole community. And you know, that's a target industry. Manufacturing is. And I hope we get to talk about manufacturing some more if you're interested. Gulf Power's role in that success story is one in which we were a team player trying to recruit a company to come here versus going to Texas, which is another Gulf Coast state that we compete with. We won out. Florida won out. Pensacola won out. And one of the elements of our win was a piece of our portfolio. We offer to new or expanding large businesses a discount on our product. And we're doing that to incent them, and they have to add jobs. They can't just open a new business and not add a significant number of jobs. As long as they're of sufficient size and they're adding a significant number of jobs, we can offer a discount to them on our product for a certain period of time to kind of get them going, to get them off their feet, and make them successful in our community. I think that was one of the key elements in that. I don't want to portray that Gulf Power was alone in any shape or form, though. It took a lot of people in this community working hard for a long time to bring Deepflex here and help Offshore Inland expand. But I think it is a perfect example of the kind of company we're trying to recruit.
Right. Now, we talked yesterday. We met yesterday at the Gulf Power facilities. There was a meeting for the 6-pillar plan, which is an initiative by the business community to put forth goals, streamlined goals across the entire state. The emphasis was on small businesses. And I know with Deplex, us are larger companies, larger manufacturing companies. But what are your views on Gulf Power and the goals for helping the small business owner, which that's what our members represent, which is a small business owner?
No, that's a great point. In fact, I heard a statistic yesterday, and I bet it's very similar to your organization and the small business owners that you represent. In the Greater Pensacola Chamber footprint, they serve thousands upon thousands of businesses, but 86% of those businesses, those investors, are small businesses. So it's a lot of fun to talk about the big businesses and the Deplexes of the world, but the reality is much of our community is run, a vast portion of our community is run by small businesses and their growth. There's a couple of things we try to do at Gulf Power to support those businesses. Number one, we want to always be there to help them find the pricing mechanism that's best for their business. And if they're a business that has some flexibility in how they operate, maybe they could do some things off-peak to save a little money on the price of the product that we sell. That's one way. Energy efficiency is a huge way. There are a lot of old buildings in our community, and frankly, fairly energy inefficient buildings. And I've got team members here today that are involved in that conversation. We try to find ways of working with those businesses to help them improve their overhead costs. We don't want to be the number one overhead in those small businesses, the price of their electricity. We want to help them find ways to use it more efficiently. And then, maybe on a little bit bigger scale, but nowhere near the size of the Deplex, another example is we have a reoccupancy incentive. And my team here can help me do the specifics here. For buildings that are 10,000 square feet or larger and have been unoccupied for 12 months consecutively, we have a similar kind of discount. But really, it's in the form of a cash grant to those companies to help them get started again. Because if you think about those facilities, they've been unoccupied. We've got a transformer already sitting there. We've already got wires to that building, and it's not flowing any of our product. And it really is an incentive on our part to say, we've already got an investment in these facilities. Is there a way to make them productive again? So those are some of the ways that we work with a number of small businesses in our town. And remember this stat, I think this is important. I think this is true for all of Florida. 4 out of 5 new jobs in any community are going to be created by small business. So it's fun to talk about the big ones, the Deplexes, but if we don't pay attention to our small businesses, and any community in Florida doesn't pay attention to small businesses, they will not be successful. No doubt about it.
Now you talked about the savings component that you can offer from small businesses. Let's talk about the ability to provide actual work in the form of contracts to these businesses and so forth. We have many service-based small businesses that are looking for work with either government entities or other private entities and so forth. How are you guys outsourcing some of the work that you have done to small business?
Great question. In fact, where's George? George and I just had another version of this conversation 20 minutes ago. So Gulf Power Company, being a reasonably large business, we cover 8 counties. I didn't say that to start with. We owe it to our customers, every single one of our customers, to bring the most value to every service that we provide, and as well the services we receive from our contractors. Be it us buying coal or natural gas, or having a painting contract or a general contractor like the business George is in back here. And more often than not, we're bidding those. 2-year contract, there you go. More often than not, we are bidding those on some repetition. So you led right into where I wanted to go, George. And periodically, we will rebid all of our contracts, whether it's a painting contract or a maintenance contract. And we're looking for local suppliers all the time. And we have an emphasis, we actually have a program to help small contractors, and in many cases those are minority-owned or female-owned contractors, learn our business, learn how to do contracting with Gulf Power Company. We're not nearly as complicated as the government, I don't think, in terms of how we do business, but we're not always the easiest to navigate when it comes to doing business. So we like to have partnerships that we can form over the long term. People that we get to know, people that we can do business with, do repetitive business with. And minority and female-owned companies are an area of emphasis for us. So If you know of anyone out there that we don't know of, that we haven't formed a relationship with, or if your business has changed, that was a conversation George and I were having, that his own business has changed a little bit. Gone from one version of a contractor license and it's expanded that some. We need to be sure we know about that and give him opportunities to consider bigger, more broad contracts that he can qualify for.
How can someone get in touch with the power? Is there a special department? You alluded to that there's a special program, right?
Well, our special department's name is David Hawkins. I'm teasing a little bit with that. Look, anybody on our team can be a contact for that. Our supply chain manager's name is Steve Williams, and he's generally the person we put in touch with vendors, contractors, help them get to know them and help coach them through that process. So any names, come to any of us, but generally we're going to put you directly in touch with our supply chain organization so you can talk directly to the source of the people that do the contracting and the buying. I think that's the best way to build that relationship.
Yesterday, at the 6-pillar plan event meeting that we had, guys from the Florida Chamber, they talked about site certification. They said that Escambia County has more site certifications, I believe I'm stating this correctly, than in any other place in the state. Now, can you explain what site certification is and what role Gulf Power plays in that?
Sure, be happy to. So the statistic he used wasn't quite just Escambia, it was Northwest Florida. Okay. But I think the point's the same. So we're kind of getting back to talking about the larger employers for a second. Okay, the big corporations that look worldwide, look nationwide for where do they want to build their next facility. Whether it's a distribution center, whether it's a factory, whether it's some sort of production facility, I have learned they're very sophisticated in how they make those decisions. They don't make them overnight. They make them over a long period of time. And one of the things they look for in communities is that community ready for me to come in there and do business? And a key element of that is property. So you think about any new business owner, as they think about opening their business, if they're building it from the ground up, they got to find the right piece of property to do it on, right? And location, location, location. You hear that all the time. What we found at Gulf Power Company is that there was not a program in the state of Florida that looked at a prospective piece of property and certified it and marketed it to the world. Okay? Now, what does certification mean? It means that that property owner has already done permitting. They have already thought about infrastructure like their electric service or water or gas. They've thought about transportation. Is it near an interstate? Is it near a railway? Is it near a busy thoroughfare where some of their customers are going to be coming through? And they do what I characterize as pre-work. So that if you own a big company and you want to come in and locate on that site, if you choose that site, you can actually get your facility built quicker and you can get into business much faster. And that offers a competitive advantage to that business and that community if they have those. Well, lo and behold, we started looking at this, and this resides in Bentina Terry's shop. If y'all haven't met Bentina Terry, she's our Vice President of Customer Service and Sales. She's done a lot for Gulf Power Company. It's not just that, but this resides on her team now. And we looked across the state of Florida, and lo and behold, there were not any properties that met this certification description I just gave you. And we think that's an area we were just not very competitive as a state. And so Gulf Power launched in partnership with a number of property owners across Northwest Florida, the program to do this. We're now working with 13 property owners across Northwest Florida, and I believe there's 6 counties involved in that. There is a piece of property here in Escambia County. It's our airport. In fact, we're ST Aerospace. Everybody's probably heard a little bit about ST Aerospace moving here. They are moving on to the piece of property that's a part of the certification conversation. I think that validates that the property was probably a right piece of property for business. What we hope to do is market those 13 properties to the world. And they're 50 acres or larger, so they're sizable sites. And hopefully we're going to get the attention of some of these big national or multinational companies to come do business right here in Northwest Florida. That's what that's about. And we're still correct me if I'm wrong here, Bentina, I think our program will be by far the largest in the state of Florida.
Yes,
And, oh, by the way, you know who we're competing with on those kinds of programs? You don't have to go but about 15 miles to the west. If you wanted to choose the same state to the north, Alabama is chock full of those kinds of properties. Mississippi is chock full of those kinds of properties. Georgia has those kinds of properties. Florida had just gotten behind and not thought about it. So I think we're putting ourselves in a competitive place for both those states.
Let's switch roles and talk
Can we
about
switch roles?
We're switching.
You did
Switching topics. All right, let's switch subjects here. I don't think you want to know about me. Let's talk about workforce development. We talked a little bit about what Gov Power can do for the small business or even for the larger business to bring them here at Pensacola. We need jobs. We need good paying jobs. You have the statistics out there of the underemployed and so forth. And a lot of times you see a Gov Power as a place that you want to work at. The impression is that they pay a good wage and all. What is Gov Power doing to help out with that workforce issue, with the issues that we have here?
Yeah, great question. And just to give you a couple more statistics as we go into that conversation. Currently, the metropolitan area we live in, which is Escambia, Santa Rosa counties, about 6%, 6.2% unemployment. But that does not tell the whole story. Underemployment is more like 15 to 20%. I don't know the exact statistics there, but it's a lot larger than 6%. So we need to celebrate the unemployment rate, but we don't need to celebrate the fact that we haven't put everybody back to work. With that in mind, I want to introduce a couple folks right quick. Can I do that as we have this workforce conversation? Because I'll tell you, I am blessed to have 1,400 teammates that make this workforce conversation pretty easy at Gulf Power, and it's not as easy as it looks. I've already introduced Bentina. She's leading a team that's helping us think through our business in some incredibly innovative ways, and I appreciate all she does, not just for us, but in the community. You've met her before. I want to thank you in front of this crowd. Gary Salmons is back here. Gary's our district manager, native of Escambia County. He knows our business very, very well and is leading us in a very, very great way in this area. One of his compadres here, David Hawkins. David's Mr. Everything in some ways to us, but he does wonderful work for us. Sandy Sims, raise your hand, Sandy. Any of you who have been involved, I hope we get to come back and talk about our symposium and our power of service. Sandy's involved in the middle of all that as our community development manager. Becca Bowles, some of you probably know Becca maybe a little bit better as having been with the News Journal. She's now with us. We stole her. We're proud to have stolen her. She's our corporate communications director. And so she's leading both our verbal and our social media communications. And we're finding more and more our customers in the community just want to talk to us on social media in a different way. So we're proud to have her on board. Working my way around, Darby Hart right here. Darby's responsible for our commercial marketing, primarily in downtown Pensacola, but her market's bigger than that. So her hands are full right now helping Pensacola, the city, grow. Charlie Driver here. Charlie's in residential, helps with that energy efficiency conversation we had earlier. I'm saving these two guys sitting here together for a reason. I want to be sure I look around the room and I didn't miss anybody else. But anybody else come, David, did I miss? So I saved these two guys because I think this is where the workforce conversation really matters. Okay. So Michael Moore. Michael, raise your hand. Michael's line tech out at Pine Forest, which is our lineman. All right. He didn't have his uniform on today. He's had other business to take care of. But as you think about Gulf Power Company and you think about who we are and what we do, he's the kind of guy I want you to think about. And all these other folks I'm proud of. Okay. Don't hear that the wrong way. I'm extraordinarily proud of them. But when it comes to where the rubber meets the road, no pun intended, Michael, this guy gets it done. He keeps the lights on, or gets them back on, and they're rarely off. He's also a veteran, and we're proud to employ veterans in our company. He came back from deployment, gosh, has it been a year yet, Mike?
Yes, sir.
About almost a year. Army?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Thank you for all you do. And then Neil Randall. Neil works out at Plant Crisp. He told me he left all the turbines spinning when he left, so they were still making electricity. But when we talk about workforce development and growing the generations of the future, I worry about those two guys' roles and where they work more than anything. Because it's becoming harder and harder to get people interested in doing the kinds of jobs these two guys do. Now that's not the jobs they're in, it's the type of job our community talks about. So, how many parents do we have in the room? How many parents in this room wanted their kids to go to college or maybe do something better than they did? Most parents are going to raise their hand, right? And as a community, and I think as a nation, we have let success in our young people be defined by whether or not they go to college. Now, I don't know enough about these two guys' entire resume to know if they have a degree from an Ivy League school or if they just went to the school of hard knocks as they learned their jobs. But I can tell you, these two guys are making, in my opinion, we can debate this sometimes, a pretty decent career at Gulf Power Company. And they're working in jobs that our young people don't even really think about anymore. Think about Deeplex, or you think about ST Aerospace is coming to town. I think we've got to keep focusing on those kinds of roles. We call them skilled technicians. They certainly require a high school degree. They also require some certifications beyond that. And one of the ways we decided to go after that was 10 years ago, I guess, 10 years ago, Gulf Power Company formed their own academy at West Florida High School, the Gulf Power Academy. Some of you have heard about that, where we expose young people in high school to our careers. And I think we've hired about 50 of those young people that have graduated from that program in the Gulf Power Company now. Probably some of them work alongside y'all. I think that's a model. It's probably not the most perfect model, but it's one way we've tried to put our money where our mouth is with school systems, to try to encourage young people to consider careers with us. And I would tell you, team, too many of our young people aren't thinking about careers in energy or careers in manufacturing, careers in technical trades that, oh, by the way, take manufacturing as an example. The average wage of a manufacturing employee in Northwest Florida is $60,000 a year. That's so interesting.
And you have an average wage of
these guys?
Well, if someone that comes out of that academy, starting out, what's the average starting rate wage?
So it's not 60. I mean, it's in the 20s to 30s.
Right.
But the prospects of getting to where these guys are really is what entices these young people. They know they've got to come in and learn the job. They've got to learn how to do it safely, learn the skills necessary to do it. But in 7 or 8 years, they could be sitting in Michael's role, driving a Gulf Power Company truck on their own, going out serving customers, or working in a power plant, running a turbine, a $1 billion operation, and making similar kinds of wages. And I think we're just not talking about those jobs enough in our community.
What are the challenges that you see in filling these positions? And I mean, right now, and we've heard this so many times, and sitting in on some of the interviews that Robin has done and so forth, and you know, we do hear there aren't enough qualified workers out there. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't believe it, but I'm not in that hiring position. But in your opinion, what are those challenges?
So I think there's an element of that there's not enough qualified workers out there. There's some truth in that, but I don't think that's the whole story. I don't think we've done enough as a community to talk about these kinds of jobs. So I'll give you an experience we had about a year ago. Well, it's less than a year ago. Our economic development team partnered with the team in Escambia County and Santa Rosa County, and we brought the middle school and high school counselors in and just spent a day with them, talking about careers in the community. And we were focused mostly that day on manufacturing and technology-related kinds of roles, but they're similar in opportunity to the ones I've just been sitting here talking about. Many of those middle school counselors left that day saying, thank you for this. We didn't even know those jobs were out there and were an opportunity for our young people. Our counselors aren't getting to be counselors the way we want them to be counselors. They're trying to convince every child to go to college. They're not talking about careers. And I think we got to get moms and dads and community organizations talking about them too. And you know, there's no magic wand we wave to do that other than just keep raising the awareness. One small example. Last October, we'll do it again this October, is we did a manufacturing awareness day. Right here in Escambia County, really across Northwest Florida. Give these young people an opportunity to go out to GE. GE's got a wind turbine factory here in town, or Armstrong World Industries more close to here. Give them an opportunity to go do a tour of the plant. And they hadn't had that opportunity before. So we've got to create this awareness and this conversation to at least get these young people interested in the roles, and quit letting the excuse be we don't have enough qualified people when we're not talking about the jobs.
Once we have those individuals interested, I mean, how many jobs are realistically available out there that Gulf Power plans on hiring? How many workers will they plan on bringing in over the next 5 years?
Well, if you will, let me make it bigger than Gulf Power Company, because we're one of the large employers, but this career focus, I think, is much bigger than us. I would tell you, and we consider ourselves a part of that manufacturing sector, I'll tell you there's 3,000 to 5,000 jobs that will turn over or be created in the next 5 years in Northwest Florida. And that isn't just here in Escambia, to be clear, that's stretching all the way over to Bay County, which is our service area. 3,000 to 5,000 opportunities for young people that some of these folks don't know how they're going to fill the jobs. But they're starting to take their destiny in their own hands. They're getting in the high schools. Ascend, right here in town, they worked with Northview High School to create a manufacturing academy to get at least 25 young people a year interested in jobs in the field. We're going to start one at Pensacola High School, hopefully here in the next 18 months, to reach some of those young people. I think we just got to keep chipping away at it. We have taken a very direct approach with that, with our Gulf Power Academy. And I think others in the community are starting to see our success. When we say we've been able to hire 50 of our 1,400 in the last few years, it's starting to take on, hey, yeah, that probably works.
Let's talk about community success, community initiatives, specifically African Americans. What is the Gulf Power Company doing to partner with African Americans or to give that to the African American community?
Okay. Well, it starts with folks like in this room. I will probably go around each one of these individuals I introduced. They've got their own passion in the community. And one of the things I learned about Gulf Power very quickly, and I've been here about 2 years, is it starts, frankly, with the power of your team. Where do they want to plug in? What do they want to do to help? And David's probably involved 3 or 4 organizations. Bentina's involved in 20 or 30. No, I'm teasing. It's not that many, but she's involved in a lot of stuff. Frankly, we want our team to tell us where they want to plug in. But there's some bigger ways we do it too. So the last time I was in this room with Doug, we did a Power of Service ceremony. Power of Service is a program that was created by Gulf Power Company going on almost 3 years ago. That it started with the recognition that there's a lot of small organizations, community organizations, that just don't get recognized. United Way gets all the recognition, and they do great work. They provide funding to many agencies in the community. You hear about ARC, or you hear about these other big organizations. What you don't hear about is Emmaus Kids, or you don't hear enough about Sickle Cell Association, or Interfaith Ministries. And those are the kind of smaller organizations that we have tried to support, many of them minority-led, focused in the minority community. Whether it's Vietnamese or African American or otherwise, they represent a group of our population in this town that just doesn't get the recognition they deserve sometimes. And so Bentina and the team created a recognition for them called Power of Service. And it's, certainly once a year as a community we celebrate Dr. King's contributions. This is intended to have that conversation all year long. Power of Service really is in the thought about celebrating his contribution and the power of service these organizations have all year long. And it comes with a $2,500 grant from Gulf Power Company to help them through program creation and support their groups. And so far, Sandy, help me if I get this wrong, I think that 12 organizations in Escambia County have received support through that. That's an example. But kind of get to our product. I want to talk about the energy efficiency piece too. We have a wide variety of energy efficiency programs we've offered over the years. to all of our customers with some emphasis on low income where it made sense, some emphasis on multifamily kinds of facilities. I think that's another way that we just want to reach out, not just to the African American community, all of our customers, but I think it's a place that we probably ought to keep finding ways to get more traction with and looking for ways to serve our customers better, help them be more efficient.
Energy efficiency, that's definitely, that's always a topic of discussion when thinking about and talking about power. You know, we've been through, I would say, 2 major disasters here in 2014, and you know, we're still well into hurricane season, well, very early in the hurricane season. But dealing with this ice storm, the flooding and so forth, what are the infrastructure changes what are the ways that you can strengthen that infrastructure of Gulf Power to make sure that your customers, this product is flowed, you know, perfectly, reliably?
Well, I'd love to say we're perfect, but I can't do that. We're 99.9% on all the time. 0.99, right, Gary? So we are in the middle. I think I can say we're in the middle because we've still got a ways to go into the largest grid construction program in Gulf Power Company's history.
Right.
Now, the grid to us is the wires in the air, the wires underground, the transformers and substations. That's what I mean by grid. And boy, we've come a long way, haven't we, Michael? Our system looks very different than it did many years ago. And a lot of it's smart technology. You got devices out there on our system that if you'll let the system work the way it's supposed to, it'll turn your lights back on for you. Now we have to have human intervention every now and again. But we're upgrading substations, upgrading our wires, upgrading our poles. We have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of poles that we send a person to every year to check to make sure the pole is going to stay standing. We have miles upon miles of wires that we have to cut the trees back from. I know that isn't always popular. We're a tree town. We should be a tree town. We have a beautiful heritage around here. But trees and electricity don't always agree, so we have to maintain that. So I think our grid is as strong and going to be even stronger than it's ever been. And I think that's just a part of the infrastructure that we need to pay attention to. It's reinvesting in our power plants. I mean, that thing won't run by itself forever, will it?
That power plant over in the Gulf, right?
Yeah. Way back. We've put about $500 million, more than that really, closer to $1 billion before it's all said and done, into Plant Crest. Trying to invest in that facility for the long run and meet all the environmental regulations. That's here in town, north of town,
okay.
Up off 10 Mile Road. It is our largest facility and our largest employer for one of our power plants in our region. And they are generally making the electrons that are flowing to your home. Now, they don't all come directly from Eagle, but that's our largest and most well-maintained site we have.
I do want to personally thank you for providing excellent service to my home.
100%.
With the pregnant wife.
Air conditioning matters at that time.
At that time and so
Hey, let me do one more plug. Becca would shoot me if I didn't do this. So everybody's got a smartphone, right?
Yeah.
Or many of you have smartphones. We have a couple of apps you've got to try. Now, Becca would say our outage map is the best app you'll never use. Because we're on all the time, right? But seriously, so many of our customers want to communicate with us on these phones, and I'm probably sounding like a crusty person when I say these phones. I tell you, there's so much that can be done with smartphones now. You can find out the status of the power at your house. Is it on, is it off, with this app. You can also get notifications if power goes out. I heard a funny story not long after I got here. Any Alabama football fans in the room?
a few.
Let me choose another school. Florida State. All right, so one of the largest complaints I personally received since I've been here was from a football fan. They actually happened to be an Alabama fan. The lights went off on Saturday. They thought the lights would be back on by game time. We told them we thought the lights would be back on by game time. they weren't back on by game time. And Alabama fans, for some reason, get a little upset about that. We missed our estimate. There were good reasons for it, but it didn't sit well with this customer that day. This app can give you updates when we, in that situation, if we had figured out that we weren't going to meet game time, we could have sent that customer a text and told them, our original estimate was wrong, we're updating it, you may want to go find somewhere else to watch the ball game. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen much, but I would encourage you, and anybody on our team can point you to them. They are a great way to learn about what's going on with our business, and and you can pay your bill online now, learn about the power quality, those kind of things. I got to put that plug in.
Right.
Since we talked about the internet being the power of the water.
No problem at all. One last question. I know you said that you didn't want to touch on it just yet, but the Power Symposium. You know, I went onto the website, and there are a lot of community leaders, even the governor is coming down, is going to participate in that symposium. Just a brief overview, one last plug, so the community knows, you know, what is the Power Symposium about?
Okay, I tell you, it has blown me away, our economic symposium. 18 years this year, is that right, Sandy? Gulf Power has worked to hold this event, and we hold it in Destin because it's kind of a central location to Northwest Florida. We invite hundreds of community leaders, both elected officials and otherwise, business owners. Come join us, and let's have a conversation on a variety of topics. This year, the governor's been invited. He's come in the years past. This year, we'll have some pretty cool conversations going on about innovation, about entrepreneurship. We've got a gentleman that's going to come who's the author of a book called How, we think this is confirmed, can I say this yet? How Money Walks, to help entrepreneurs think through their business. It's a great way to learn, and we try to put on an agenda to help the community learn, but it's a tremendous networking event too. I think as much business happens out in the halls, folks getting to know each other and talking about what's going on in our communities, than that happens in the main event room. So it's October 4th and 5th. I hope that's what my calendar is. 12th through 14th, sorry. I don't know where October 4th and 5th came from. We invite anybody here to join us. Sandy can get the information to you or Nicole about participation in that. We'd love to have you join us. It's just a great way for our Northwest Florida partners to come together and talk about what we need to do to keep getting better.
Or you can Google the Economics Symposium, and you can definitely get some information off the website as well. There's the entire agenda and all on the website as well. Everybody, I would like everybody to thank Mr. Stan Connally, CEO of